Yo, what's up, everybody? Listen, are you over it? You know what I'm talking about. That feeling of being stuck like your life is one giant commute. Yeah, we've all been there. That's why today we're diving headfirst into a world without cars. Okay, not literally, but close enough. We're talking about the 10 most walkable cities in the US of A places where life is lived on the streets, not behind a windshield. And trust me, these aren't just concrete jungles with sidewalks. We're talking about places with soul, with history etched into every brick and enough local businesses to make your head spin. We're talking about cities that will make you want to ditch the car keys and feel the pavement under your feet. So buckle up, because number one, well, you're just going to have to wait and see. All right, we're kicking things off in the city that never sleeps. New York City. I know what you're thinking. Walkable. This place is huge. And yeah, you're not wrong, but that's the beauty of it, right? New York is like 1,000 little cities crammed into one, each with its own vibe. You got Greenwich Village with its brownstones and bohemian spirit, where you can practically smell the creativity in the air. Then there's the East Village, a little rough around the edges, but bursting with life, music pouring out of every doorway. And you can't forget about the West Village, with its cobblestone streets and ivy-covered buildings, like stepping back in time. And the best part, you can walk from one end of Manhattan to the other and feel the energy of the city change with every block. Forget the subway, forget the taxis, just lace up your shoes and get lost in the energy of New York City. Next up, we're heading west to the Golden Gate City, San Francisco. This city, man, it's like a breath of fresh air, literally. The fog rolling in over the hills, the smell of sourdough bread in the air, it just gets to you. And walking these hills, it's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's an experience. You're climbing up, 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 and then suddenly, bam! The most incredible view hits you right between the eyes. Like from the top of Lombard Street, the most crooked street in the world, you can see Alcatraz, the Golden Gate Bridge, the whole city laid out before you. And then you wander down into North Beach with its Italian cafes and bookstores, feeling the history of the Beat generation seeping out of the walls. You can practically hear Kerouac and Ginsberg having a late-night coffee, arguing about poetry. San Francisco is a city that begs to be explored on foot, every corner a new story waiting to be discovered. All right, let's talk Boston, a city that practically oozes history from its cobblestone streets. Walking around here is like stepping back in time, especially when you hit the Freedom Trail. You're literally walking in the footsteps of revolutionaries, man. You can practically hear the echoes of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride as you pass Faneuil Hall and the Old North Church. But Boston isn't stuck in the past. Head over to Beacon Hill with its gas lamps and brick sidewalks, and you'll find some of the coolest boutiques and restaurants in the city. And don't even get me started on the North End with its Italian bakeries and restaurants. The smell of fresh cannolis alone is worth the trip. Boston is a city that rewards those who explore it on foot, revealing its secrets one step at a time. Next up, we're heading to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Now, I know what you're thinking, D.C., walkable, isn't it all just government buildings and suits? Well, yeah, there's definitely a lot of that, but DC is also a city of hidden gems, and the best way to discover them is on foot. Start with the National Mall, a sprawling green space that connects some of the most iconic monuments in the world. You've got the Washington Monument, piercing the sky, the Lincoln Memorial, reminding us of what it means to be free, and the reflecting pool, mirroring the hopes and dreams of a nation. And then there's Georgetown, with its cobblestone streets and historic row houses, now home to trendy boutiques and restaurants. DC is a city that surprises you, a place where history and modernity collide. And the best way to experience it is one step at a time. All right, let's head to the Pacific Northwest, to the city of Seattle. This city, man, it's got a vibe. You've got the Space Needle reaching for the sky, the smell of coffee on every corner, and a certain grunge rock nostalgia in the air. And walking around Seattle, it's like the city was made for it. Start at Pike Place Market, a sensory overload of fresh fish, colorful flowers, and local crafts. You can practically taste the energy of the city in the air. Then wander down to the waterfront, where you can watch the ferries come and go, the Olympic Mountains in the distance. And don't forget about the neighborhoods, each with its own unique flavor, from the hipster haven of Capitol Hill to the quirky charm of Fremont, home to a giant troll sculpture under a bridge. Seattle is a city that embraces its eccentricities, a place where you can be yourself, and walking its streets is the best way to soak it all in. Next up, we're heading to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Now, I know what you're thinking. Philly? Isn't that where Rocky ran up those stairs? Well, yeah, you can totally recreate that iconic scene if you want, but Philly is so much more than just a movie set. It's a city steeped in history with a gritty charm that gets under your skin. Start in Old City, where you can practically feel the weight of history as you walk past Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. Then lose yourself in the maze of narrow streets, stumbling upon hidden courtyards and charming cafes. And don't even get me started on Reading Terminal Market, a food lover's paradise with everything from cheesesteaks, to Amish baked goods. Philadelphia is a city that rewards those who are willing to explore it on foot, revealing its hidden treasures one step at a time. All right, let's head to the windy city, Chicago. Now, I know what you're thinking. Chicago, windy? Well, yeah, it can get a little breezy, but that wind, it carries the energy of the city, a city that's constantly moving, evolving, reinventing itself. And the best way to experience that energy is on foot. Start on the Magnificent Mile, a shopper's paradise with everything from high-end boutiques to department stores. Then head east towards the lakefront, where you can walk for miles along Lake Michigan, taking in the city's impressive skyline. And don't forget about the neighborhoods, each with its own distinct personality, from the trendy boutiques and restaurants of Lincoln Park to the blues clubs and soul food joints of Wicker Park. Chicago is a city that will steal your heart one step at a time. All right, let's head to the Pacific Northwest, to a city that keeps it weird, Portland, Oregon. This city, man, it's got a soul. You got food trucks on every corner, craft breweries galore, and a vibe that's all about keeping it real. And walking around Portland, it just feels right. Start in the Pearl District, once an industrial area, now transformed into a trendy neighborhood with art galleries, boutiques, and some of the best restaurants in the city. Then head across the river to southeast Portland, where you'll find a more laid-back vibe with vintage shops, cozy cafes, and dive bars with character. And don't forget about Powell's City of Books, a book lover's paradise that takes up an entire city block. Portland is a city that embraces its individuality, and walking its streets is the best way to discover its hidden gems. All right, we're heading to the Twin Cities, to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, I know what you're thinking. Minneapolis, isn't that like cold? Well, yeah, it can get a little chilly in the winter, but Minneapolis has a secret weapon. Skyways, these enclosed pedestrian bridges, connect the entire downtown area, so you can walk from building to building without ever having to face the elements. But even when it's not freezing outside, Minneapolis is a city best explored on foot. Start at the Mill City Museum, built into the ruins of what was once the world's largest flour mill. Then wander along the Mississippi riverfront, taking in the city's skyline and enjoying the numerous parks and green spaces. And don't forget about the neighborhoods, each with its own distinct character, from the trendy boutiques and restaurants of Uptown to the historic charm of Linden Hills. Minneapolis is a city that surprises you, a place where you can find beauty in unexpected places, and walking its streets is the best way to discover its hidden treasures. All right, we're wrapping things up in the Magic City, Miami, Florida. This city, man, it's all about energy. You got the beach, the Art Deco architecture, the Latin rhythms pulsing through the streets. And while you might think of Miami as a car city, trust me, walking is the way to go. Start in South Beach, where you can stroll along Ocean Drive, taking in the pastel-colored buildings and the people-watching scene. Then head over to Wynwood, an outdoor art gallery with colorful murals covering every surface. And don't forget about Little Havana, where you can sip Cuban coffee, listen to salsa music, and practically feel the spirit of Cuba in the air. Miami is a city that awakens the senses, a place where you can't help but feel alive, and walking its streets is the best way to experience its vibrant energy. So there you have it, the 10 most walkable cities in the US, places where you can ditch the car keys and embrace a different pace of life. Whether you're looking for history, culture, food, or just a change of scenery, these cities have something for everyone. So what are you waiting for? Lace up your shoes, grab your camera, and get out there and explore.